Polestar is evolving, and proof of that comes with the Polestar 3. Here, usefully improved with an 800-volt architecture. It was the company's first large SUV and of course is fully electric with a sporty vibe that pitches it directly against rivals like BMW's iX and the Mercedes EQE SUV. The brand even claims it drives like a sports car. We'll see. My name is Jonathan Crouch. I've been testing cars for over 40 years. You'll find them all on the Car and Driving Review app. Here, I'm going to try and tell you everything that you really need to know about this one in a way you'll find nowhere else. Let me hand you over to our presenter, Colin.
This improved Polestar 3 takes its brand even more confidently into the luxury SUV segment. Here, we'll take a closer look. It's been astonishing just how quickly the Polestar brand has grown, to begin with effectively on the back of just one model, the Polestar 2, particularly as that car wasn't even, overtly anyway, part of the SUV genre that's most quickly driving sales in the electric market at present. The Polestar 3 very much is this high-end large luxury EV, originally launched in 2024 to evolve the company's design identity, aiming, in their words, to bring the sport back to this class of SUV. Since then, that design identity has moved on further still with two additional Polestar models, the slightly smaller 4, a mid-sized SUV, and the slightly larger 5, a 4-door GT, which you might expect to both share engineering with the car we have here. Actually, though, this 3 is quite distinct. Unlike its showroom stablemates, it's built for Europe in the US rather than in China and uses different underpinnings, an SPA2 chassis borrowed from former Polestar owners Volvo, part of a drivetrain shared with that Swedish manufacturer's 7-seat electric SUV, the EX90. As with the EX90, this Polestar 3 got a major update in autumn 2025 with changes to the car's core computing system, a revised large battery and the substitution of the previous old-tech 400-volt electrical architecture with a faster charging 800-volt setup. It's that improved model we're going to tell you about here. Now, you can find out more about this kind of car by downloading the Car and Driving app. But if you're interested specifically in this Polestar 3, you'll need to stay with us for the industry's most comprehensive review, the Car and Driving Road Test. So, does this Polestar 3 really put the sport back into this kind of SUV, as its maker suggests? Well, to some extent, yes. It's no Porsche Macan electric, but it feels a good deal more wieldy than just about anything else in this segment. And that's quite an achievement, given the prodigious 2.7-ton weight. This is not a car to drive to the kindergarten, says the brand. Maybe so, but that's still what quite a few owners will do with it. And if they do, they're going to be better off avoiding the base rear motor version, because with that, you can't have the air suspension system we think this car really benefits from in urban travel. Via the central touchscreen, this setup's damping can be varied through standard, nimble and firm settings, all of which allow the car, in the words of Chief Engineer Joachim Riedholm, to breathe and flow over faster roads. His team have further improved drivability with this updated model, revising the anti-roll bars for better cornering stability and introducing a new in-house developed permanent magnet synchronous rear motor that allows for greater rear power bias. You shouldn't find yourself short of speed when an opportunity comes to put all of that R&D effort to the test. That new rear motor has boosted power output, and as a result, even the base rear motor variant feels quite quick with 333 horsepower and 62 miles an hour in 6.5 seconds en route to 112 miles an hour. The mid-level dual motor version most will choose offers 544 horsepower, 4.7 seconds and 130 miles an hour, while the top performance model we're trying here delivers 680 horsepower and trims the 62 mile an hour sprint time to just 3.9 seconds. With this updated 800-volt model, EV range has improved as well, though not quite as significantly as you might hope. The base rear motor model now uses a smaller 92 kilowatt-hour battery with a 375-mile range, and with the twin motor variants, the original 111 kilowatt-hour batteries being replaced by a denser one with 106 kilowatt-hours, offering 394 miles with a dual motor and 368 miles with this performance version. With the twin motor variants, these figures are helped by the way that the front motor now features automatic disconnect functionality when not needed. And they depend on the driver making use of the effective one-pedal drive brake regeneration system, while also setting the power delivery to range rather than its more urgent performance mode. A part of this update that's less obvious behind the wheel is the major upgrade that's taken place with this car's core computing system. A more advanced NVIDIA Drive AGX Orin processor replaces the previous Xavier unit, increasing processing power from 30 to 254 trillion operations per second. This leap, with more than 8 times increase in computing power, enables faster, more intelligent management of active safety systems, battery performance and sensor data, and what Polestar calls improved software refinement for the steering, which can be varied through light, standard or firm settings. In firm, you can briskly cover twisting country roads in a satisfyingly responsive manner that feels similar to the old Jaguar I-Pace, and we mean that as quite a compliment. It'd be even better if Polestar could offer the option of rear wheel steering. Motorway refinement's impressive as well. In short, it's a strong overall showing. You might, like us, think that all Polestars look pretty much the same from the front. But from every other perspective, this Polestar 3 is quite different from anything else this Sino-Swedish marque has ever brought us. At 4.9 metres in length, it's certainly big, as you'd think it would be, given that this is a sporty 5-seat crossover sitting on an SPA platform originally designed for a 7-seat family SUV, the Volvo EX90. And instead of the high, boxy roof height you get with a car like that, this 3 has a far lower and rather racy swept-back roofline, with this sharply angled rear quarter-light window that emphasises the substantial rear haunches. It's all rather different and divisive, though the 0.29 CD drag factor is disappointingly bluff for such a fastback silhouette. Perhaps the enormous wheels, 20 or, as in this case, 22 inches, have something to do with that. Chunky side cladding supplies the SUV vibe, and gold calipers mark out this top performance variant. Perhaps the coolest bit of the design lies here at the front, with something you might not notice at first glance. The fact that instead of being below the bumper, the spoiler spans the leading edge of the bonnet. It's apparently like that to counter lift at speed. More familiar are the brand's usual Y-shaped Thor's hammer LED headlamps. And at the rear, well, here's something unusual, a modern Polestar design that incorporates a rear window. In fact, there's quite a lot of glasswork on this car, the full-length panoramic roof flowing back into this 2-section tailgate bisected by this rather overt roof spoiler with a lower part that you can have in special acoustic glass. A dinky wiper sits above a slim, full-width LED light bar, and strange angled cutout panels aid airflow at each lower corner. Lots going on then. Now, getting in is via a phone app or by using this key card, which you have to place on the further end of this pop-out flush-fitting door handle. Let's see what it's like inside. Well, very Polestar-like is the answer, which means the marque's usual thoughtfully designed but sparsely furnished look, a minimalist vibe that the company continues to carry off rather more convincingly than Tesla or the Chinese makers. But despite the fact that the architecture here is shared with a much more expensive Polestar 5, there isn't quite the solidity of build quality or the plush, luxurious feel you'd get from a premium brand rival in this segment. The portrait format central screen isn't quite as big as it is in a Polestar 4, but it still dominates the front of cabin experience, as does this rather overlarge 3-spoke wheel. There are some nice quality touches, like the stitched fabric dashboard, on the top of which you'll get this unusual jet engine style silver speaker if you specify the Bowers & Wilkins audio upgrade that most customers will. But there's less of a luxury feel from the shiny piano black trimmed centre console that juts out towards the bulkhead, or the click action of the typical Polestar round dial that sits upon it. Still, concentrate on this interior's whole vegan vibe, emphasised on the seats by lettering telling you the upholstery is made of bio-attributed microtech with 100% fossil-free PVC. Doesn't sound very luxurious, does it? But there's Napa leather as an alternative, if that indeed puts you off. The standard Polestar 3 upholstery package gives you bio-attributed microtech in charcoal with repurposed aluminium deco. No, we don't really know what that is either. That large steering wheel has lots of large spoke buttons, some of which don't seem to do very much, the exception being the right spoke's bottom switch, which changes the view formats of the 9-inch driver's display. This shows speed on the left and battery charge with range on the right. In between, you can choose to prioritise either nav mapping or a drive assist graphic, but you won't be looking at any of this very much if your 3 features this test car's optional head-up display. Pretty much everything else must be controlled via this 14.5-inch central screen. Rather too much, actually, for you to use it to control things like the door mirrors, the fog lamps, intermittent wiper speed, the steering wheel, even glove box activation. Does all this really represent safety-focused progress in automotive cabin design? Well, we don't think so. This Android Automotive OS monitor isn't quite as big as it first looks because permanently displaying lower menus take up quite a lot of its space. Climate and car functions sit along its bottom frame, while just above are your shortcuts for range, media, phone, camera and Google Assistant functions, plus access to a screen full of icons for things like the performance and charge sections, a web browser and apps for things like YouTube and Tidal. Google apps and services are of course built in, along with a brilliant Google-based navigation system, as is access to the Google Play Store and the operational functionality for the immersive optional 25-speaker, 1,610-watt Bowers & Wilkins 3D surround sound audio upgrade. As also referenced earlier, switchgear around the cabin's been kept to the absolute minimum, and the switchgear you ought to have either doesn't exist, like the lack of dedicated rear window switches for the driver, or has been strangely placed. The hazard light switch is up in the roof console. As a result, this isn't one of those cars you can just get in and drive without a second thought. Still, the airy feel compensates, courtesy of this huge glass roof, and the little touches please, like the planet-themed ambient lighting system. The seats we mentioned earlier are also brilliantly supportive. Rearward visibility isn't that great, but there's a camera system to compensate. And there's plenty of cabin storage space, including decently sized door bins and a large space beneath the centre console, forward of which is a kind of elasticated panel on the bulkhead that works like a clipboard and has 2 USB-C ports nearby. OK, let's take a look in the rear, where the doors open wide for access. In a large electric car of this size with just 2 seating rows, you'd expect a huge amount of space in the rear. And of course there is. In fact, the legroom's almost limo-like, which compensates for the fact that this bench doesn't do anything useful like sliding or reclining. It's just as well that there's that standard fit glass roof and these little rear quarter-light windows, because otherwise it might feel a little claustrophobic back here thanks to these shallow side windows necessitated by the car's swept-back roofline. The EV expected completely flat floor means that it would be easy to get a middle-seated adult back here too. There's a dedicated climate screen above the twin vents and twin USB-C ports, plus decent door bins, an armrest with pop-out cup holders, seat back pockets, overhead reading lights, and a vent and a coat hook on each B-pillar. Headroom's fine too. But you do pay a bit for those coupe-style looks with boot capacity. It's not terrible. The powered tailgate rises to reveal a reasonable 484-litre space, but that's 36 litres less than an SUV in the next class down, like BMW's iX3. You hump your stuff over a rather impractically silvered load lip, but that process will be easier and the issues with this high boot floor alleviated if you use these right-hand switches to lower the air suspension that comes fitted to the twin motor models. The boot floor cover hides a further 90-litre space, and if you've specified the Plus or Prime packs, the hinges of its folding base can stick up and be used as bag hooks. There's a 12-volt socket and an elasticated strap on the right and a netted recess on the left, with bag hooks on both sides and 4 tie-downs. You get a ski hatch for longer items, and with everything folded, up to 1,411 litres of flat floor space can be freed up. In addition, there's a further 23.8-litre underbonnet frunk space, ideal for the charging leads. As we filmed in autumn 2025, list prices, often discounted on the Polestar website, were starting with the base 92 kilowatt-hour rear motor model at around £70,000. You'll need around £78,000 for the mid-level 106 kilowatt-hour dual motor variant and around £92,000 for the top performance twin motor version we're trying here. Somewhat unusually, the three Polestar 3 trim levels are expressed not through exterior decor but through the seatbelt design, with solid black for the rear motor version, black with a Swedish gold stripe for the dual motor model, and belts in full Swedish gold for this performance version, which is also set apart by larger bespoke 22-inch wheels. We should also brief you on the manner in which you'll need to buy or lease this car. Polestar's now starting to use conventional dealerships, many of whom are Volvo franchises, but it still maintains what it calls Polestar spaces, basically automotive department stores in shopping centres. Currently, there are 7 of these. The primary idea, though, is still that you should place your order online via the British section of the Polestar.com website. Then connect into the brand as and when you need to. They can come to you when your car needs servicing, 3 years cover for which is included in the price. Most customers, as usual, the EVs will acquire ownership under leasing or PCP schemes. By segment standards, this car's value proposition might seem at first glance to be quite impressive. You can't really compare directly against the Geely Group cousin model this Polestar 3 shares all its engineering with, the Volvo EX90, because unlike this Polestar, that Volvo is a 7-seater. But for reference, the EX90 commands a premium of around £12,000 to £15,000 over this Polestar 3. For a more direct competitor, you'll probably be looking first to the German premium brands for an alternative, in this case the BMW iX and the Mercedes EQE SUV. And if you do that, things are considerably pricier. You'll find base models with those two brands starting from around £75,000 and more powerful dual motor versions from over £90,000. Think well over £20,000 more if you want an iX or EQE SUV comparable in horsepower to this top Polestar 3 performance model. The equivalent Porsche Taycan SUV, the Sport Turismo, will need around £20,000 more than a comparable version of this Polestar, while cars like Audi's Q6 e-tron, the Porsche Macan electric or the Genesis GV70 electrified aren't quite large enough to compete directly. You might think the same of a BMW iX3, but we'd suggest you give the latest version of that vehicle some consideration. Compare the twin-motor iX3 xDrive 50 to a Polestar 3 dual motor, and for around £60,000, around £20,000 less, that iX3 offers comparable performance, bigger boot space and nearly 100 miles more driving range. Even better value is, of course, a Chinese contender, the MG IM6, which in rear-driven form undercuts a base Polestar 3 by around £20,000 and offers more power. An IM6 in twin-motor form undercuts a dual-motor Polestar 3 by around £27,000 and offers around 50% more power, but loses out on range. If, having considered all of that, you're still attracted by this Polestar 3, then you'll want more details on specs, so let's take a closer look at that now. Now, standard equipment on all versions also includes 20-inch aero wheels, active LED headlights with active high beam, power folding frameless mirrors, a powered tailgate, UV and noise-reducing laminated glass, rain-sensing wipers, an alarm and a big panoramic glass roof. Drive stuff includes adaptive cruise control, multi-mode steering, hill descent control and a one-pedal drive brake regeneration system. Avoid the rear motor model and active air suspension standard too. Across the lineup, Polestar also includes a digital key so you can effect entry via a phone app and a heat pump to maintain EV range in colder months. And there are all the usual benefits of the Polestar Connect phone app, so that you can interact remotely with your car, locking and unlocking it from wherever you are and preconditioning the cabin's climate system before you get to it. Inside, there's powered heated front seats, now sustainably trimmed in bio-attributed microtech in charcoal with repurposed aluminium decoration. Along with a wireless charging mat, a 9-inch driver's display and a 3-zone climate control with a rear control screen. Media connectivity is taken care of by a 14.5-inch centre display, which has Wi-Fi and 5G phone tethering, plus the usual over-the-air updates, Bluetooth, wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay phone mirroring, and a 300-watt 10-speaker high-performance audio system. This monitor also comes with 12 months free use of the brand's Connected Services Plus package, which includes Google Maps, Google Assistant, a Google Chrome beta browser, Spotify, YouTube, Waze navigation, a Vivaldi web browser, the Tidal global music streaming service, TuneIn radio and Prime Video. On to options, which mostly apply to the mainstream rear motor and dual motor variants, since this top performance model gets almost everything as standard. We'd recommend the audio system upgrade, Bowers & Wilkins for Polestar, which comes with headrest speakers and active road noise cancellation. This also comes as part of an optional Plus pack, which for £4,600 more also gets you a head-up display, soft-closed doors, an infrared windscreen, an acoustic lower rear window, an advanced air cleaning system, a power-operated steering column, and a foldable boot floor. You might also want the Pilot Pack, which for £2,300 more includes a 360-degree camera and the Pilot Assist semi-autonomous drive system, which uses an advanced LiDAR system and offers acceleration, braking and steering support at up to 93 miles an hour, plus parking assist and lane change assist. You might further want the Climate Pack, which for £700 more includes heat for the rear seats, steering wheel and front wiper blades. To save all that box ticking, Polestar will sell you a Prime Pack standard on this performance model, which for £6,500 more includes the Plus Pack, the Pilot Pack and the Climate Pack, and also throws in rear privacy glass. On all models, you can add 1.3 megapixel HD LED headlights, rear privacy glass, roof crossbars and a tow bar. With the two mainstream variants, you can pay more for larger 21 or 22-inch wheels. There's an eco upholstery upgrade available in animal welfare secured wool with repurposed aluminium deco. Or if you want proper hide, and if the Plus or Prime packs have been specified, you can also pay more for two kinds of perforated Napa leather upholstery. Let's finish with a look at standard safety kit. There's lots of it, borrowed from Volvo, hence this car's top 5-star Euro NCAP safety rating. All the passive stuff, of course, an ultra-high-strength boron steel safety cage, whiplash injury protection, tyre pressure monitoring, and 9 airbags, including front, side, inner side, inflatable curtains, and a knee airbag. Electronic stuff comes courtesy of 12 ultrasonic sensors, 5 exterior cameras, 2 infrared smart eye tracking cameras and 1 front radar. As a result, there's advanced collision avoidance along with forward collision warning with specific collision avoidance not only for other vehicles but also for cyclists and pedestrians. You also get a lane keeping aid, lane departure warning and rear collision warning and mitigation. Plus there's cross traffic alert with brake support, blind spot information with steer assist, oncoming lane mitigation, run-off road mitigation and a post-impact braking system. As you'd expect, there's road sign information, driver alert control and an occupant detection system. For the dual motor 3, Polestar talks of an efficiency figure of between 2.7 and 3.3 miles per kilowatt hour. But we've been getting more like 2.5 miles per kilowatt hour here, which means that this 2.7 tonne high-set SUV has been typically giving us no more than around 260 miles. As with all EVs, and particularly big SUV ones, the much trumpeted zero emissions mantra is of course illusory. In this case, once you take into account the production of the electricity most commonly used to charge this car, this 3 is producing CO2 at a rate of just over 40 grams per kilometre. The big change for this updated Polestar 3 model lies with the introduction of a much more advanced 800-volt electrical architecture. This upgrade enables significantly faster DC charging with a peak rate of up to 350 kilowatts for the twin motor cars. It's 310 for the base rear motor model. That's 100 kilowatt faster than before. And it means that in the dual motor or performance variants, the 10 to 80% battery DC charge benchmark can take as little as 22 minutes, which is more than 25% or 8 minutes faster than before. The new architecture also brings enhanced efficiency, up to 6% according to the WLTP cycle, and supports the integration of new lithium-ion batteries from supplier CATL. As for AC charging at home, well, with a single-phase 7.4 kilowatt wall box, you'll need around 17 hours for a full charge of the bigger 106 kilowatt hour battery. You can improve that to around 11 hours if your wall box uses an 11 kilowatt twin-phase supply. As before, this Polestar uses a multi-high-speed charging system that allows switching between 800 and 400 volt outputs. Public charging is, of course, currently the biggest EV issue, particularly for UK customers, getting frustrated with our nation's patchy public charging infrastructure. Unlike rival Tesla, Polestar doesn't have its own brand network of charging stations to take up the slack. Still, the brand has developed this and other future EVs with bi-directional vehicle-to-grid compatibility, which allows the Polestar 3 to power home appliances, electronics, and even top up other EVs using the energy stored in its battery pack. The power output for bi-directional charging is set at 20 kilowatts. What else? Well, as usual with an EV, you'll be BIK tax rated at 3% until that's reviewed in spring 2026. Insurance will be expensive, rated up at Group 50. Because of its price, this car is subject to the government's luxury car tax, which applies from the second time the car is taxed until it's 6 years old. The lease depreciation is impressive. After 3 years, rated at 55% for the dual motor and 58% for the rear motor version. The warranty's a bit disappointing, just 3 years and 60,000 miles. And the battery gets the usual 8-year, 100,000 mile cover. More positively, Polestar will pay for your servicing for the first 3 years or 31,250 miles of ownership, whichever comes first. The brand now has 93 Polestar service points across the UK. Polestar says the 3 stays true to the brand's performance roots. It certainly stays true to the kind of formula likely to be well received in the growing sector for stylised, large luxury crossover EVs. Despite the avant-garde looks, the reality is that even in this updated form, it doesn't really bring anything dramatically new to the segment, but it does offer something refreshingly different from the usual German alternatives you might otherwise have to settle for. That's if you can get over a few issues. New class BMW models are shortly going to redefine what customers in this segment can expect in terms of EV driving range. But even in this improved 800-volt form, the dual-motor version of this Polestar 3, the variant most customers will choose, can't even match the equivalent version of that manufacturer's older Tech iX in that regard, which parent company Geely ought to be concerned about. If that doesn't bother you, you've also got to consider the smaller issues of slightly restricted boot space and an over-reliance on the central touchscreen for driving functions. But none of these things need be deal breakers if you really like what Polestar has tried to do here and find yourself enjoying the satisfyingly sharp handling that the brand has somehow managed to engineer into this big, heavy SUV. The result is a really different take on what a car like this should be. We like it for that and think you might too.